babe, wanna leave this town. I'm saying, whatever, if you wanna go, I'm down. Darling, we'll make a bigger thing.
Hey there, fellow travelers.
And welcome to She's Got Baggage, where we dive into all the moments of travel, the good, the bad, the weird, the confusing, and every fascinating nuance along the way. I'm Abby.
And I'm Katy.
And together, we're your travel gal pals, here to share the full spectrum of our experiences from life beyond borders.
So grab a seat and get ready to join us as we explore the diverse tapestry of travel, from exhilarating highs to the challenging lows and everything in between.
This is your final boarding call. Thanks for joining us on today's adventure.
Hey, Abby.
Hi, Katy. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Just navigating a very complicated, semi-frantic time right now. How are you?
Yeah, it's the same for us over here. We're kind of in the process of buttoning up our lives abroad, as are you. So it's sort of feeling like the end of an era. We've both been living abroad for the better part of a decade. So today we thought we would chat a little bit about how we're getting ready for this move back home and what this transition feels like. So how's this been going for you?
I've been contemplating the concept of chapters a lot recently. We are closing a big one right now and opening up a new one. It's not the last chapter, it's just a new one. When I left my American life to travel abroad, it was like I knew that the next chapter was going to be really thrilling and adventurous, so I was excited to turn the page. Now, the unknown factor of what happens after I leave the airport in Denver is feeling really kind of daunting. I know this chapter is going to include some pretty significant challenges for the character, me. That's what makes this a good story, though, right? The peaks, the valleys, the struggles, the wins. I'm not saying that my next chapter doesn't include fun and good excitement too, but it's really hard to see the forest for the trees, so to speak. There's so many big life things that are waiting for me, and I have not a single idea of how I'm going to manage any of them. So this unknown feeling is a little bit loomy, you know? I know that I need to work on my own energy in this time and to manifest bringing positivity and magic into the next chapter, but this is feeling really kind of hard to do at the moment, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that we're really in the same boat, and it's a very unique and a very confusing feeling. It has been really validating to have you as a friend around during this process because it helps me to know that I'm not crazy for feeling this way,
Sure.
like the confusion and the trepidation and the apprehension about going back home. And, you know, Pants is just chill about everything always. I think he's feeling it too, but he kind of keeps it
more
chill.
Cool.
He keeps it chill. And we are making a decision to willingly walk away from a really fun chapter in our lives. And it was this kind of chapter where you turn each page and you never really want to put the book down. We've had a really amazing ride traveling and living in different countries for all these years. And we've really kept the dream alive for a long time. Although this journey has been really wonderful, I don't want to gloss over everything and paint it like it's just a dream life. This lifestyle that we have chosen has come with some significant sacrifices to relationships and connections back home. We've had more logistical nightmares and bouts with food poisoning than we can count.
Yeah.
We've had nights where we sleep on cold airport floors. We feel a lack of direction and a lack of purpose sometimes, and a lack of permanency, like stability, maybe even a little.
Yes.
There's kind of a sense that we're just floating along. There have also been in this travel life some downright negative moments. Like we've experienced thefts and bed bugs and the occasional creepy person. But it's also sort of surreal to reflect on nearly a decade of travel and realize that way more has gone right than has gone wrong. I frequently find myself in kind of a state of wonder. Like, how did we manage to pull this off?
Same.
Right? Like, how did we do this?
Same.
And it's very weird to look back on all of these adventures and think, how did I pull this off? But then still feel all of this trepidation about reacclimating to American life. And I have this tension sort of in my stomach that I don't really have when I move to a new country. And that's really weird.
Yeah.
That's a super strange feeling. Like it's so much less scary to move to a country where I've never been before.
So weird. I know.
And it's scarier to me to literally move back to the country that I'm from. And it feels kind of sad and kind of unsettling that re-entering my home country makes me feel so nervous. I wish that I could just pack up all of my people and bring them with me everywhere that I go. Maybe it's on me to like live somewhere that's easier for accessing the US. So I don't know. Should we just move somewhere else instead?
Oh, yes. I ask myself this question all the time. Why not just move closer,
Yeah.
right? Pop in and out more frequently. But then I remember that although family seems to be both of our first priority in this decision, it's not the only factor that's making this choice. So I'm curious about why you and Pants made this decision to move home.
For me, I think my reasons are pretty straightforward. Like you said, it's about our people. I want more time with my people. And that just will not happen if I continue traveling and living abroad. I want to hang out in my dad's kitchen and I want to spend quality time with him. He has been out to visit me in so many countries, which has been awesome. Like that is just unbelievable that we've been able to travel with my dad the way that we have. It's crazy. But I do look forward to enjoying his company when it's not a go, go, go travel type of situation. I want to just chill and I want to have beers and I want to take walks and I want to do little house projects together. I want to be an auntie to my nieces. You know, growing up, I had all of these incredible aunties and I have all of these fond memories with them. And I want to be that for my nieces. I want to be that auntie. I want to play in the sprinklers and I want to do art projects and I want to be there on Christmas morning while they're still young. And you know, my mom is already gone. My aunties and uncles are only getting older. I want to spend time with these people before it's just too late and there's nothing I can do at that point about not having been around. And that's kind of a scary realization. And I know for me, my travel life isn't over. This is not finished. I know that. But like everyone else, I'm also getting older too. So if I spend the next 10 or 15 years doing what I'm doing now, I'm going to find myself approaching 60 and still not having an idea of what a firm financial footing looks like at that age. And that concerns me. Like,
Sure.
what if I keep doing what I'm doing now? Nothing is going to change for my future. And when I think about starting over now, it's really daunting. And I can't imagine how much scarier it's going to be if I wait another 10 years to sort of start over. And by that point, my people will have also continued to age. So it just feels like right now it's time. And I know family is a big factor in your decision to move home too. Like that's really what it's about for all of us, I think. But Katy, I am curious what some of the other deciding factors were for you, because I know that this isn't an easy choice for you to make either to go home.
Yeah, it really was not an easy decision for me at all. I went back and forth about it for a couple of years. But the last time I went home to visit, I realized that while I was away, I had gotten older, and so did everyone else in my life. And I saw my mother walking with a cane. My dad has been having surgeries, and my body is getting older too. So I'm not saying that my parents are on death's door, but I do want to enjoy them while they're doing relatively well.
Yeah.
I also want to form a better adult relationship with my sister. My family hasn't always been the closest, I'll be honest, and our relationships with each other weren't always healthy. But at this moment, it's the best it's ever been. And I want to write a new story for the future of my family, one that we have coffees that we enjoy together. We have porch wine. We look at photo albums. We support each other in our times of need. And I need to be more present physically to be able to do any of that.
Right.
So as an added bonus to this, I'm also craving being a quick flight or drive away from a lot of my besties so I can see them more frequently as well. So in addition to family and friends, I do have to consider my professional goals as well, which ties into the financial bit that you were talking about really well.
Yeah.
I've really loved teaching online, but I've hit a wall with this vocation, I'll be honest. I'm limited greatly by income. This has removed a lot of alternative scenarios from my realm of possibility. I cannot afford to live in most parts of the world on the salary I'm making right now, so I can't just move somewhere new. I'm limited. Finding remote work in my skill set that allows me to work internationally, that doesn't require an additional master's education, this has been really challenging for me. I keep being told, oh, there's so much remote work, but I'm just not seeing anything that applies to me. So I need to go home, recalibrate my entire professional life, start paying into my retirement plan again, and I need to use my brain in different ways. Finally, I need to consider my health. Now, the health system in the USA is greatly flawed and a little scammy, in my opinion.
100%.
It really leaves a lot to be desired. But I need to get back to a point where I can follow up on my health a little bit more acutely. I know it's a matter of time before I'm going to need some pretty significant procedures to be done. And I'd like to be on my home turf when that time comes.
Sure.
So people, career, healthcare, finances, these things are suddenly more valuable. And that's tipping the balance scale towards moving home. The reason I'm doing it now is because both of us, our Albania visa is expiring. And although I can renew it, it would mean a lot more of hoops to jump through. So the present time just kind of presented itself naturally. Abby, what's next for you? What are your plans when you arrive in that first year? What does that look like for you?
I can't even think a year ahead. Honestly, after clearing customs in the United States, we will immediately be thrown into domestic travel to celebrate some really important events, but it'll be a little chaotic. And it is what we lovingly refer to as the press tour when we come home to visit and we've got all these people to see. We will leave Albania, fly through Frankfurt, I think, and eventually arrive in Chicago. From there, we have to be in Indiana for a 50th anniversary ceremony for Pance's parents. And then we road trip all the way down to Florida, then all the way back up to Iowa to see my people. Then we will continue driving to Colorado to catch a flight to San Francisco for my cousin's wedding. Then we come back to Denver. We'll say hi to you and some of the homies I've got in Colorado. And then we drive back to Iowa. So I will literally be traveling from Southeast United States to the Northwest coast of the United States. So in my first 6 weeks, we're going to have a lot of fun, but it's going to be super chaotic. So it's kind of hard to even think much beyond that at this point.
You're still traveler at that point.
We're still traveling. So I don't know. I mean, a normal life for me might begin following all of those events. I also have another wedding in the fall that we'll have to be around for. And so it's not really going to feel like I'm back in reality for a minute. What happens after all of that really remains to be seen. I don't know how things are going to shake out for Pants and I. He plans to start trucking school. I'll probably continue teaching online until I find something else. But honestly, I don't know what that's going to look like. I'd like to think that this move home is temporary, that maybe it'll be sort of an intermission to find some work for a while and spend time with my people, but it's kind of a wait and see situation at this point. Going back to the United States feels really unpredictable, and life there is so expensive, and we don't have jobs, and we don't have insurance. So one broken bone could really throw a wrench into what our plans might look like.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean?
That is my biggest fear, honestly. Yeah. And it's always my biggest fear. Even with insurance, a broken bone can bankrupt. Even somebody that's financially stable.
That's crazy.
You're one illness away from financial ruins in the United States, and I really hate that. Mm-hmm. But imagining my future in the States it's really kind of like trying to describe what a puzzle looks like when you don't have all the pieces.
That's a good way to say it.
It's this very vague idea of Colorado. I can picture my family, catch-ups with friends, brunches and beers, but everything else is a huge mystery. I have no idea about a job, an apartment, what city I'm going to live in, how I'm going to afford any of these things. Mm-hmm. You know me, I'm a spreadsheet kind of a girl. I manage my anxieties and my concept of security by having a plan A, a plan B, and so on. Mm-hmm. So right now, my plans A through Z are just to get to Colorado. And then my plan will be to get a new plan. This is really an exercise in restraint for me, and it's kind of uncomfortable. I'll be honest. This is not where I thrive. So I've been trying to get a sense of control over this by doing as much pre-departure stuff as possible, which has led to some pretty funny revelations about myself. For example, I started sending things from Amazon to my sister's house 3 months before arriving.
You're shopping.
I was shopping. These are things that I'm going to need for my cats and myself on day one. My sister laughed and reminded me that in the United States, you can get Amazon deliveries in a day, or maybe even a matter of hours. So I didn't need to worry so much about covering every possible base beforehand.
Yeah.
This made me realize how much I've been living in a scarcity mindset for all of these years abroad. Not having access to these things that I need all the time. It means that I need to make a plan, sometimes involve many people, or flying into another country to get something shipped to an Airbnb from Amazon because we don't have addresses in Albania.
No, you have to deliver it to the Eco-Mart.
Yes, and we don't have Amazon, we don't have addresses, we can't really get deliveries very well. So it's been a while since I've had access to the things I need at my fingertips. It's just really silly to me. And it made me realize how much a fish out of water I'm going to be when I arrive. I'm not going to lie. The access to everything that I might ever need at my fingertips, this is going to be a big benefit to moving home.
I know, but it's dangerous.
It sure
it's
is.
dangerous. But I do. I know this feeling well. And you and I have compared our Amazon lists. It is kind of fun to imagine nesting a little bit and kind of decorating a space that feels a little bit more like my own than living in rentals that belong to other people. A lot of my girlfriends that sort of do this travel life, it's important to them to sort of personalize the rentals that they have. You're one of those people. You'll kind of decorate your space a little bit. And I don't. I'm like, we're going to leave in 6 months. I'm not going to spend any type of money or effort redecorating Grandma Mira's apartment. Like, I'm not going to do that. Another thing I am looking forward to is having clothes that fit this American body that don't have holes in them.
Oh my God. Upgrading my closet is going to be so good. I've been hanging on to things that are ill-fitting. They're stretched to the gods.
Oh, the first time that my clothes hit an American dryer, they're going to disintegrate. So I'm not really a person who puts so much money and effort into my wardrobe anymore. Like I don't really care all that much, but you still got to cover your body, right? And it still feels good to wear clothing that fits properly.
And looks nice.
And that's not always something that we can find while we travel. I have adopted a pretty minimalist lifestyle over these years, mostly out of necessity, but now it's also because of choice. I already feel this big pull into this American capitalistic consumerism. I really want to continue my minimalist habits as best I can. I want to avoid just going full steam ahead into consumerism. And it's not to say that consumerism is uniquely American. This is not a read on Americans that buy things. I don't mean it to sound like that, because this capitalist consumerism, it's in most places now. It's all over the world. But it does work directly against us when we're trying to stuff our entire life into a suitcase. So that's why I say, out of necessity, I have become very, very minimal in the things that I purchase, the things I consume. Honestly, I don't really miss a lot of the things that I get rid of when we sell off our lives or when we change locations and we have to get rid of the bulk. When I was back in Thailand, when we first got started traveling, or even in the US, I was giving away so much stuff to my friends or to random people along the way. And it feels really good to me to have a lightweight life. But the American machine is built to keep us consuming and shopping and buried under the weight of our own stuff. Of course, neither one of us are really in a position to just spend recklessly, but re-entering the US is going to be expensive.
No kidding.
It's going to cost money. And
it's the re-entry tax.
It really is. And we're going to need jobs. But even getting jobs costs money. You've got to get to the interview. You need transportation. You need clothing and so on. It costs money to get a job. We're also moving home at like 40 to live in our family's basements. And I feel like, are we losers? I don't know.
It really does feel like we are losers.
We're big losers.
I think we are losers. And this has been a really humbling experience, honestly. So much has changed since we left. LinkedIn is a whole social media now.
No.
What is Slack?
Oh, Slack.
There's so many things I don't know about the American way of working or living. And yes, I am coming back a big, big loser.
Yeah, we're definitely like out of touch. We're for sure out of touch. And it feels a little obsolete sometimes, like we're the old people. Now we've been away from the US. We've been out of the job market for the better part of a decade. So it's like, what skills do I even have that can compete with these hungry graduates and the Gen Z kids and
the
all
Gen
this?
Z kids have all of our jobs.
Yeah, like I can't keep up. And the people our age who have also been building skills and they've been building careers for 20 years. Like I can't compete with that. I know that you're going to tell me that I just need to have a little faith in myself. But it feels more and more like I'm just going to be swimming upstream, because not only is it hard to get a job that fits, to find the right fit, but I'm going to feel like such an alien doing it.
That's the perfect way to describe it. We are aliens.
We are.
And I worry so much about relating to colleagues about this like pressing sense of urgency that Americans have. And it's also this really toxic sort of competition to prove how much of a team player you are by not taking your sick days or your paid vacation days.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're rewarded. The bosses reward you for this. Oh, Abby hasn't taken a single sick day or vacation day in 3 years. Mm-hmm. She will be promoted. And it's just this toxic loop.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. I really feel like these 10 precious vacation days are part of your salary package. And it's what happened?
That's your money.
What happened to personal time? Like, what happened to your personal life? What's going to happen to our personal life? This boundary that we have built where we get to kind of spend our time the way that we want to. It's really a scary thing to let go of that. And it's going to be a real adjustment for the both of us. But I'll tell you, if I ever do get a job, I'm taking my vacation days.
Sure.
Like, I don't care. I need them. That's part of the benefits package. And I am of no use to anyone if I don't take a little time to disconnect. And I think it's kind of a tragedy how much of their lives that American workers have to sacrifice to their jobs. It's not normal for a lot of countries in the world. And it feels really icky that we're going back to that.
Yeah, explaining.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally do. And I love explaining this to the European mind.
I don't.
Like,
I do not like it.
It's always a fun little chat with their 6 weeks holiday, your minimum. They take some countries take the entire month of August off. Why are we so toxic? You know, and it's not just Europeans. A lot of countries, they really value work-life balance a little bit better than Americans.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's going to take time for me to feel like I can relate to anybody in this corporate world, but also it's not just at the job and in the job values that I feel a little bit different from, but it's also kind of sometimes amongst my peers. Even on my short visits home, I've experienced that it's really kind of hard to be seen and really understood for who you are today. I think everyone is genuinely really excited to see me, and they launch into tell me about your travels, which is like, I don't know, this weird open-ended statement. And I honestly don't even know where to begin to summarize my last 8 years of living. It's also really hard not to sound super braggy when I talk.
It is. I know what you're saying. And it sounds really obnoxious when we are constantly starting sentences by saying, oh, that reminds me of that time in India, or I saw this funny thing in Japan, or, oh, yeah, that reminds me of my Turkish friends. And yeah, this pizza's good, but, you know, this pizza in Italy and blah, blah, blah. Like, we just sound kind of insufferable. We sound awful, but we don't mean to.
We don't mean that's our life. It kind of makes me feel like I need to take a little bit of the sparkle out of my experience, water it down, so to speak. I've noticed that there's a bit of a tune out also that happens in conversations at about 10 minutes of me talking. They're looking at me, they're listening, but like I've lost them. And I find it just easier to change the topic to something that they can relate to. Because I know that however well-meaning they are, our lifestyle is impossible to imagine or relate to unless you've lived it.
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with people at home about their lives, and it's jobs and bills and spouses, and largely conversations are about people's kids. And I understand that. I love hearing about their lives, and I like hearing about these other things too, but I definitely feel like I'm carrying around this weird history that not a lot of other people can relate to. And as much as I love my people, sometimes it feels really hard relating to them or fitting in. I suppose maybe it's all of these feelings that give way to a podcast. You know, and thankfully I have you and I have Pants, and he and I can always reminisce about this shared history that we didn't have other people around for.
That's right. Like I've been saying, there's so much life that exists in between the Instagram posts. For the most part, I travel for like 3 days out of a month, but those 27 other days, maybe they're not so exciting, but there's so much of life that's there. And I think that this kind of leads to an accidental lack of understanding from our loved ones about how huge this transition is about to be for us. And I've been reading a lot of blogs about repatriating and the process so I can get a better understanding of my own thoughts and feelings, and also so I can help my people understand me better during this transition. I'm going to put some links in the blog if anybody wants to read them. There is one quote that jumped out at me from this writer, Kisha Solomon. She repatriated back to the US after years of living in Spain. She said, "Coming home after a period of time living abroad isn't always easy. Things aren't the same as you remember. You aren't even the same. Finding your place again when everyone and everything has moved on can make readjusting to your new old life seem a little bit like learning to walk again. Plus, there's the emotional toll of leaving behind new friends and abandoning what has become your new normal. To make matters worse, unlike many other life transitions, repatriation doesn't always come with its fair share of support and understanding. The opportunity to live in a foreign country is often seen as just that, an opportunity, something that you're lucky or blessed to be able to do. On one hand, that's true, but like any other self-initiated, out-of-the-norm endeavor, for example, going back to school, changing careers, becoming a parent, it's also a matter of sacrifice, risk, and day-to-day struggle. Yet to friends and family back home, and thanks in part to those steady stream of stunning photos in exotic locales on your Facebook and Instagram feeds, you've been living on vacay for the past few months or years. And since coming back from vacation isn't really a struggle, you may be left to navigate re-entry back to the real world on your own."
Yeah, that quote hits home. Sorry, pun intended. Sorry. But yeah, we're saying goodbye to our current lifestyle, and that's going to be a shock to the system and a shock, I think, even to our identity. Like, who are we if we aren't travelers? Who are we if we aren't living abroad?
Sure.
These are big questions. And so I'm going to go off for a second.
Yes.
There are so many fears that we have about moving home. Everything from politics and how everything in the US has a side. It's so divided now. Even navigating the medical system, feeling anxieties of my friends telling me not to come back because life there has gotten so hard in the States. And everybody seems to be really kind of miserable, honestly. And wondering, how are we going to afford to have dinner? Like I got a message the other day from one of my girlfriends in Denver who had gone out to a restaurant. She sent me a picture of a menu with a $20 baked potato. That's a potato wrapped in foil.
Did it have truffle oil on it? Like,
no,
was it had flaked in gold?
It had chives. A $20 baked potato. Like, I can't do it. And so that is so scary and so foreign to me. Like, that's so unknown. And how do I have
a social life? I can't go out to dinner.
Forget about it. And even going out to dinner or going to get a coffee, it's for me, it's the car culture. And there are also a lot of belief systems back home, if I'm honest, that feel really narrow. And there are pop culture references that we don't understand. And even like prepackaged food. And we've got to figure out how to go back on the grid. We've got to get utilities. We need phone plans. We've got to learn new apps. We have to figure out how to get health insurance in the United States, taxes and car insurance. And none of those things have been as rigid or even necessary for us since we've been living outside of the United States. And it's very ironic how many freedoms we're going to give up to return.
To the land of the free.
To the land of the free. And I don't mean to sound like I'm just railing against the United States. Life is really good there for a lot of people. But I think that my complaints really speak to the privilege that we've had and what our passport has afforded us. And it goes without saying that there are loads of problems in other countries too, but that's been the beauty of being a foreigner in those countries. Like, we're outsiders enough that we've been able to kind of skirt a lot of those responsibilities that come with being part of a society. So all of those things that we have to go through to participate in American life, local people in other countries have to do it too.
Yes.
But like I said, we have been just outside enough as visitors in these places that we've been able to get around participating in a lot of that stuff. And I got to say it, you might know where I'm going with this, but the language barrier is such a frustrating and blissful
I love it.
experience.
White noise.
It really is. And this comes up a lot in conversations that I have with people back home. What about the language barrier? What if you don't speak the language? And honestly, in the beginning, that was a little bit tough, but now I love it. And I'm afraid to live again in a place where I actually understand the things that are being said around me. We live with this beautiful white noise where we can be blissfully ignorant to all of the things that we don't want to understand. Like we just don't know what's going on around us. And strangely, it's perhaps a little ignorant, but it's bliss.
It is. And it's really overwhelming when you land in the United States and you're just surrounded by a language you can understand.
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it off.
It's a really weird moment. That's a big adjustment.
It really is. And it's a lot of layers for me. There are so many little things that pile up on top of these emotions regarding the reentry process. Again, none of this is meant to be a dig at the United States, truly. I think that when you live this lifestyle in the USA every single day, it's all very normal. And I used to feel that way too. That was normal for me too when I lived there. And I think that experiencing our own culture from a distance offers a new perspective. And there are things that I have experienced living outside of the United States that are going to make it really hard to go back to that way of life. I know if I don't like it, I have to leave.
Right?
Right?
Yes.
Like I have to leave.
You don't like it, leave.
You don't like it, leave. I get it. I sound like a spoiled brat. I get it. But that seems to be the standard trolling line. If you don't like it, then get out. For me, it's just not that simple. If I'm not home, I don't get my people. And for me, that is the priority. So how do I reconcile all of this? Like, what do I do? And I feel like in the next few weeks, I just need to stay focused on getting myself there. I've got to keep my eye on the good things that are coming and the people that are waiting for us after 2 full days of traveling. And I can't wait to see Pants's family. And I am excited to have a Judge Judy happy hour with my aunties. And I want to reconnect with my friends. I want to cook with my dad. And I want to love up on my nieces.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. What's worth the hard times. So I can't wait to scheme with my sister and to bond over travel stories with my dad, to have lunch with my mom. I also have some really amazing childhood friends that I'm excited to see, especially my girl, Sarah, who I've known since literal birth, my old therapist, who is now a very good friend of mine.
Give her my number.
Yes, we might have to hire her again. I have a lot of love to look forward to. And I think you are right. I need to lean into this part so that I don't lose myself in the dread of it all. I think we also need to do a few things here in Albania to properly say goodbye to this place, the people, the lifestyle.
I agree. I do. I originally thought about doing an old Irish goodbye and sort of slinking out the back door, but I think it would be a disappointing way to end this chapter. So I think we probably need a little go away get together or something.
Yeah, I'm actually really sad to start the goodbye tour. I think I'm also getting closer to being ready for this transition. I think it has helped me so much to know that I'm not alone and that my feelings are valid. They're shared also with a lot of people. There are so many people I've read about in blogs and also people I know in real life who have repatriated before me. And these people, they've been here before. This is not something that's often discussed openly. So I'm hoping that maybe some of our listeners can relate to this episode today. To the people who have been here before, maybe they've felt alienated by their feelings or invalidated to their feelings, and also to the people who have not lived this lifestyle. We hope this helps you to understand us silly little expatters a little bit better.
Right. We are aliens after all. We are foreigners in our own country, it's going to feel like. At the end of the day, I think we're also grieving a bit because we're saying goodbye to a life that we love for now. And we are trading it in for people, and families and friends and the possibility of new opportunities and experiences and making up for a lot of lost time that we might not have if we continue doing what we're doing. And that's also a pretty beautiful thing.
Yes.
Like, we're giving up a lot about this life that we love, but we're going to gain so much positivity and things that we
just don't know what it's going to be.
We don't know what it's going to be. And I do believe that there is a bittersweetness to this lifestyle, the travel lifestyle. We get to have so many homes all around the world, and Albania has been one of them. And for that, I am eternally grateful. And there's actually a quote by Miriam Adonai that says, "You will never be completely at home again, because part of your heart will always be elsewhere. That is the price you pay for the richness of loving and knowing people in more than one place." That just speaks to me on 1,000 levels.
Totally.
We're sad because we have loved so many places and we have loved so many people abroad. And we know that it will never be the same again. We may never see some of those friends again. We may never visit some of those places ever again, much as we love them. We will never experience the same place the same way because time just changes everything.
Abby, that's a really beautiful and a little bit of a heartbreaking way of looking at it. Our experiences have been so abundant, but the thing about abundance is that it's not finite. We get to make more room for new loves and new relationships with old places and new places. We are really lucky to have places, however scary they feel in our minds right now, to go back to. This is a really great place, I think, for us to circle back to for today.
Oh, God.
I think I'm already starting to try out this corporate American lingo, and I'll be honest, I hate it.
Yeah,
I don't like it at all.
That was gross.
Cringing.
Let's not adopt all the parts of the reintegration process just yet.
Yes.
I will say thank you to everyone who stuck it out with us today. Probably sounded a little whiny, maybe a little heavy. We really don't mean to sound like brats, but we are here to unpack it all, and not just the sexy parts of life abroad, but some of the hard parts of life abroad too, kind of like we did today. We do love our lighthearted stories, but we want to keep it real also, I think. And
sure,
that was part of what we needed to do today. So I do hope that all of our listeners will come back next time to hear some of the more bizarre antics that have happened when Katy, Pants, and I travel together. Maybe we'll lighten the mood a little bit next time.
As the proud third wheel, I can confirm that the next episode will be chock full of shenanigans. Thank you so much for listening as we show our more vulnerable selves today. We would love to hear from you if you've resonated with today's episode, or if you have a fun travel story to tell. Until next time, I'm Katy.
And I'm Abby, and we are She's Got Baggage.
Thoughts and taters.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on She's Got Baggage, the podcast where we depart into the travel world that has embraced us for the past 9 years. We invite you to continue exploring with us, from tales that stir your thoughts to moments that tickle your funny bone and tug at your heartstrings. Our itinerary promises to inspire and captivate.
Don't forget to secure your buddy pass by subscribing, ensuring you never miss our next adventure. Your feedback and reviews are always appreciated as we continue to navigate these unexplored territories together. Your reviews are so important so that we can stay on course with content that keeps you coming back for a return trip. Until next time,
I'm Abby.
And I'm Katy. For additional perks, check us out on she'sgotbaggagepodcast.com. And you can also find us on social media.
And remember that this has been She's Got Baggage, where every adventure has a story.